Hello. So today I am going to be talking about, does God get angry at us? Because remember, the Bible says he is slow to anger, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't get angry at all. Okay, so the answer to that is yes. And I'm going to give you 4 reasons. There may be more in the Bible that I haven't read yet, but these are the 4 reasons that I have seen that God gets angry with us. 1, not obeying his voice. Exodus 4:13. The Lord got angry at Moses. So God had told Moses to go to Pharaoh and to speak with him. And Moses, who said, I am not eloquent of speech, right? That he couldn't talk well enough. So he was afraid to go speak to Pharaoh. And God goes, who is the one that made you speak in the first place? Who's the one that gives you your voice? I'll teach you what to say. And Moses still goes, please, God, no, please send someone else. So God did. God sent Moses' brother Aaron to speak to Pharaoh, to go along with Moses to speak to Pharaoh. But Exodus 4:13 says the anger of the Lord was kindled against Moses. Why? Because Moses chose not to obey God's voice. And James 4:17 tells us if we know what the right thing to do and we don't do it, it is sin. So if God tells us to do something, if he with his voice tells us to do something, or if the Bible tells us, because we know the Bible is God's words, if we do something against the Bible, of course he's going to be angry with us because we know it's sin and we continue to do it anyways. So another biblical example of that is with Balaam and the donkey. So originally God told Balaam, okay, so Balak asked Balaam to go forth and curse these people, right? God tells Balaam, no, these are a blessed people. He was talking about Israel. Israel was a blessed people, and he told him, do not go and curse them. Okay, well, Balak comes forward once again, asking Balaam again to go curse them. And this time, God says, do whatever that they say and go with these men. Well, in that moment, God was testing Balaam, see if he would remember what he originally had told them. And Balaam failed because Balaam got up and he went to do it. He didn't question God. It's okay to question God. It's okay to make sure that you're on the right path with God. As long as the questioning is to keep you on the path that God has for you and to keep you in righteousness, it's okay to ask God questions and say why. You may not always get the answer you want, or you may not always get an answer, but it's not a sin to ask. Okay? So Balaam didn't bother to ask God, why would you suddenly have me go with these men when you had told me that they were a blessed people and not to do it? Well, after Balaam got up to go with the men, to go curse these people, God's anger was kindled against him. And he sent an angel to resist him. So the donkey is the one that realizes the angel's there and keeps stopping, right? And the angel said, if it wasn't for this donkey, I would have killed you. So that donkey saved Balaam's life. Okay, number 2, chasing after things and gods other than the one true God. So when we make things idols in our life, when we chase after other gods. Now remember, the ancient gods are still here. People are still worshiping them. It just doesn't look like the way we would think. Like with Pride Month and the trans movement and everything. That comes from a false god. I have a video on that has been done before that I can tag you in if you request it. But it comes from a false god. People are still worshiping false gods, including Christians. When Christians get into this whole trans movement is okay, they are worshiping another god. And God's anger is kindled against people who chase after other gods or after things that are not him. So Israel always continuously chased after other gods, right? And God, what would happen is they would chase after other gods. God would deliver them. They would ask for God's deliverance because, their false gods couldn't save them. So then they would chase after other gods again after the deliverance, and it'd be back and forth. They went to the real God for deliverance and then would chase after false gods. Well, finally in Judges 10:13, God told him no more. I'm not delivering you anymore. You go ask those gods that you keep chasing to deliver you because I'm not doing it. Like, he literally says that. And Israel had to put away the other gods and start serving the one true God in order for God to deliver them again. They had to put aside the false gods and choose to worship and to follow him for him to deliver them again. As long as you continue chasing things and other gods other than him, your deliverance isn't going to come because you're not chasing after him. You're not following him with your whole heart. He is a jealous God. It tells us that in many, many scriptures because we are in a covenant with him, a two-way covenant. It's not that God does everything for us and we do nothing back. This is a marriage covenant. He explains it in Jeremiah 3:14. I am married unto you. He is married to us. This is a marriage covenant. In a real marriage, it is not a one-sided thing. It should be a two-sided. If it becomes a one-sided thing, don't people usually get divorced over that? In Jeremiah 3:8, it tells us that Israel had committed adultery against God. And so he gave her a certificate of divorce. And yet her sister Judah, she did not fear that. She did not fear. She did not look upon the fact that Israel was getting divorced from God and fear. Instead, she decided to continue treacherously and be the harlot. So all God wanted from them is for them to come back to him, to stop playing the whore and going after other gods and come back to him. That's all he ever wanted. The Bible talks about when you're married to someone, you become one flesh, right? Well, the same thing goes with being married to God. In 1 Corinthians 6:17, it tells us that if we are joined to the Lord, then we are one spirit with him. So if we are truly married to the Lord, then we're one spirit with him. And don't you think chasing after other gods is going to grieve him? Would you stay with someone who continuously committed adultery against you and was not faithful to you?